Or do you get them into your employ and then make them
I only hope the answer's going to be as good as the question. In practice, it's my experience of running pretty large organizations over a long period of time that it is ambitious people who are driven by that ambition currently achieved. And that in themselves creates this level of dissent.
It doesn't matter what they say, because what they sound like is a fax coming through. One of the great quotes that he made was that if Dick Whittington had encountered the red tape and bureaucracy that business has today, he would have turned back on his quest to London. I thought, well, that's bollocks, that's bullshit, mate, but if you want to talk bullshit... You know, you said that if Dick Whittington had come to London, he'd met all that red tape, then he wouldn't have gone on the pavement of gold. But is it not true as well that if the Pied Piper of Hamlet had been paid a fair wage, then he wouldn't have stolen the children?
I've heard the story.
Is it, but do you not think so? Or what about if...
The story is the story, isn't it?
But you used the analogy in your speech of fairy stories.
You used a different analogy.
Well, what about if Dick Whittington, if he'd come to London and he'd met all the red tape and then fought through it, would that be good?
I think it's a bit hypothetical.
It's a hypothetical. What about Red Riding Hood, if we take Red Riding Hood?
Should we leave it there, shall we?
Can we just ask that question? Because it seems a wasted opportunity not to be able to ask questions.
Okay, come on.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Do appreciate your time. Thanks a lot. Look, what about this? No. How about it? We have a big like wedge of money here.
Just the wedge of money then.
Okay. And we just have like the Queen's head. We'll do the Queen's head. We'll just sort of like a little Queenie thing. And then sort of 20.
It's just doing a wedge of money.
It's a watch of money. Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. I was just putting it on.
You shouldn't do it.
We then started having a look at these other people. And one of the people we came across was a man called Jerry Robinson. Now, Jerry Robinson runs a company called Granada, which is big. Mr. May, look at it, Jerry, lovely. And he runs Granada, and he was registered, his usual home address is 3 different usual home addresses. This is his usual address. This is what's listed in the company's house. Unfortunately, he's got another house 2 streets along, which is his usual address. Here we are at Jerry's other address. And obviously he's had a bit of a party that's got out of control, as you can see. I think there's probably a couple of dead showgirls under there. This is where Jerry Robinson's 3rd house is supposed to be, but he doesn't live here, he's actually moved. So that's all rather bizarre, isn't it? Apparently he did live here, but he doesn't live here anymore. The other interesting thing to note is how he spelt his name differently on each company address. So you've got Robinson Gerard Jude, and that's Gerard there. Then you've got Robinson Gerard, but no Jude. Jude's gone. Then you've got Robinson Gerard Jude. So he's dropped an R. Be a bit of a bugger if you wanted to find it on a computer search, though. So we wrote him a little letter saying, we think you've broken company law, mate. Put the wrong addresses down. And he wrote back a rather snotty letter. Blah, 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 moved house. It's quite normal to move house. Although I do not believe there's anything for me to remedy. No doubt you will now write to company's house pointing out your error in the earlier letter to the registrar referred to. So we've got to apologise to company's house. Only the thing is, there are 2 companies which he's director of, which he has got the wrong address on. And we have double-checked, Jerry, so as you are keen on apologies, your turn, mate. I think you're fine. And I know you're nitpicking. You're nitpicking. But how about this for nitpicking? 3.5 years ago, the Hillingdon Hospital women went on strike because they were asked to have a cut in wages and an increase in working hours. And they've been on strike for 3.5 years, right? And they recently won a tribunal hearing where they said whoever has the contract for Hillingdon Hospital cleaning must re-employ these women. So they've won it, and by law they should be re-employed. And Granada are the company who've got that contract. And Granada have said, no, we won't. It's not practical for us to employ 21 Asian women. No, we can't. No jobs. No, they're all shut. Go away. This is a company that says we come into contact with 23 million people every day. No, can't have, no, go away. So we thought we've got to get some sort of support going for the Hillingdon Hospital women. So we've faxed the entire cast of Coronation Street saying, as fellow employees of Granada, will you show some form of solidarity with the Hillingdon Hospital workers? Jerry Robinson has sent us a letter saying that he was wrong about the addresses. He's also said that the Hillingdon Hospital women are on strike behind us here, that they can't re-employ them because they won't accept changes in rotas and pay and places of work. And he's also said that it was unfair of us to ask the Coronation Street cast to comment on a very complex dispute. So they're probably not going to put their heads above the parapet, which I believe makes what you're going to see even more remarkable, because the workers you are going to see did put their head above the parapet.
In the 2.5 years that I've been there, I've noticed the safety getting less and less as the deadline comes on. Basically, we feel like being rushed all the time, and safety's being put on the back burner. There was a fire, maybe a small fire, at Old Street Station, where smoke was coming through the tunnel into the Northern Line at London Bridge. All the passengers was evacuated Northern Line, and there was fire brigade and about 3 or 4 fire engines outside the job. A few of the lads see these and rung up the JLE asking why it hadn't been evacuated. Well, they was on the phone for 10 minutes before it was answered, and when it was finally answered, they was told we're not aware of any situation at London Bridge. The most dangerous thing about working underground is a flash fire. If a fire starts up, it's very unlikely you'll get to the top of the hole before you're burned alive. These dog tags are basically, if we get burnt alive, the only way they'll be able to identify us is through the dog tags, you know?
The only way they're going to recognise and identify the bodies at the Jubilee line is through a dog tag. You often hear sort of like, oh, these corporate directors and chief executives, they deserve every bit of their pay because they take a lot of risks. Oh, take a lot of risks. Oh, yeah, like that. Yeah, I bet. Oh, no, very dangerous in the boardroom. A lot of sharp pencils. No, very dangerous. Very dangerous. You can get paper cuts when you're chucking redundancy notices around. Really, you can. And also, a lot of us got bizarre sexual practices that could take your eye out. Yes. And so we thought, well, we've got to go bigger than this than just show it on telly. So what we did was we phoned up some Labour MPs and said, will you come and have a chat about health and safety on the Jubilee line? They said, yeah, no problem. We got 7 of the Sparks who are on the Jubilee line to come along as well. We said, we'll meet you outside Westminster, all right? And the other night we drove this fuck-off white transit up Westminster Bridge and parked it in the middle. Got the MPs and the Sparks in the middle of the road, ripped off the top of the transit where we've got a projection unit and a couple of loudspeakers, and started playing the lads' testimony up on the Jubilee line hoardings.
The lads have got caught down a ventilation shaft was because the diesel train's going through testing the lines, so you can try and get out. You imagine running up a 300-foot staircase, some of them vertical. The fumes rise. Anyway, about the time they've got monoxide poisoning. They finish us up in Guy's Hospital. When they come out of Guy's Hospital, they said you have got a level of monoxide poisoning in your blood. You know, you've got to be careful, don't go back down again. When they come back on the job, the gaffer turns around and says, can you just go back down again and sort your materials out and your lockers out? He said, what, back down into the graveyard?
Unacceptable. No project, no deadline is worth putting people's lives at risk. It's as simple as that. This is unacceptable. Totally.
This hasn't been brought out into sport. I mean, I didn't know until we came tonight. I didn't know what the position was on the Jubilee line until you just told me.
But I mean, the most important fact is that as the deadline comes nearer,
more pressure will go
there'll
on.
be more pressure on these men here to get the job done.
I think the key is John Prescott is a transport issue. He's a union man. He should recognise the needs that people have got.
That's the question, because you just said John Prescott was a good union man. What's he doing bringing in a firm like Bechtel who are anti-union?
I said he was a union man.
Yeah.
We'll ask a question about who they're bringing in. We'll ask a question about numbers. We'll ask a question about profits.
So if we get all the questions
give us
from
the
lads,
info, we'll put it down.
We'll put it through the office and then get it to you.
They're supposed to have safety systems that they're supposed to bring in, and we just don't see them. You know, they're just non-existent.
20 odd years ago was getting better deals than what they're throwing at us now. Under a Labour government, may I stress. Massive Labour fucking government, massive fucking majority that are doing fuck all but rip us apart.
we wanted to talk about sort of like international labour, and we got an interview. It's coming up to Christmas. And we managed to get